Welcome. Hi, folks. My name is Sarah, and I am the Education Assistant at Dunlop Art Gallery. Welcome to tonight's performance, Poetry and Beading. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that Dunlop Art Gallery, RPL Film Theatre, Regina Public Library, myself, and the lands on which we're virtually gathered this evening are all situated on Treaty 4 territory. These are the original lands of the Cree, Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. Peace Akintade joins us from Saskatoon, which is Treaty 6 territory, the traditional meeting grounds, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. Daphne Boyer is grateful to work, live, and play on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen peoples, including the Songhees and the Esquimalt nations, and the WSÁNEĆ peoples, whose historical relationship to the land continues to this day. Timaj Garad joins us from Toronto, the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse nations, Inuit and Métis. Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississauga of the Credit. To our viewers, just a little reminder, and please note that after tonight's live stream has ended, saved versions will be available and accessible with subtitles and closed captioning. All right, so let's take a moment to introduce tonight's presenters. Daphne Boyer is a renowned visual artist and plant scientist, born and raised in Saskatchewan and now living in Victoria. Her interactive practice combines plant material, high-resolution digital tools, and women's traditional handwork to create art that celebrates her family's Métis heritage and honors plants as the basis of life on Earth. Timaj Garad is an Ethiopian-Harari Toronto-based multi-disciplinary storyteller, arts educator, and community organizer using poetry, theater, and music to bring her stories to life. Her art is autobiographical, and working in the intersections of a Black Muslim woman challenging injustice, unearthing truths, and healing. Timaj is known for creating and leading community arts programs, is the founder of LUMINOUS Fest, Canada's first Black Muslim arts festival, and also co-founded the Sisters Retreat, which is a retreat series that hosts local and international arts-based wellness retreats for Muslim women. Timaj is currently living in Toronto, sharing her poetry on stages across the province, continuing to organize arts events, and working on new music. So her debut EP, Blooming at the Mouth, was released this March. Timaj believes in the transformative power of the arts to build capacity and strengthen communities. You can also follow her work at timajgarad.com. And last but not least, Peace Akintade is an African-Canadian interdisciplinary poet, public speaker, and thespian residing in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. So from 2020 to 2021, Saskatchewan Youth Poet Laureate, co-coordinator of Write Out Loud, a Saskatoon-based youth poetry community, and board member of the Tonight It's Poetry community. Part of the Youth Speakers Bureau for the Office of the Treaty Commissioner, one of the 21 Black playwrights chosen for Obsidian Theatre's 21 Black Future Project, and also her play Madness with Rocks can be found on CBC Arts and CBC Gem. Her other works can be found in the History Folklore Society, Kindred Cities, CBC, Global News, Sask Arts, the Saskatchewan Writers Guild, the Voices of Today Anthology, Birthday Party Anthology, Leader Post, Toast, and Sask Culture. Her poems touch on the impact of slavery in her village, colorism, growing up in Kuwait, Nigeria, and Canada, and relearning her culture in the face of colonization. She dreams of a world where poetry is accessible and interconnected with different art media. Thank you so much. Welcome to you all. Thank you, Daphne, Timaj, and Peace for joining us this evening. So I'm going to hand things over to Daphne and Timaj to start things off. And then after we will come back to Peace and Daphne for the second part of the program. All right, I'm handing things over to you.
All right. Thank you. Really honored to be here and sharing this space, especially with you, Daphne. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I guess before I start, I'll hand it to you, Daphne, in case you had anything you want to share about your work.
Well, this is a privilege and it's going to be fun. It's a first for me. I've never done anything like this before. So let's get started and see where it takes us.
Yes, absolutely. Really, it's the first for me too. So this is definitely exciting and just new. Okay, so I'm Timaj Garad. I'm a spoken word poet and singer-songwriter and musician. I have a couple of poems that I wanted to share. They're not from a particular collection, but I think collected together in this performance, these poems kind of do follow a story, and the story is one of healing. It's one of really just navigating my identity as an Ethiopian, as a Canadian, as a third culture kid, someone who really kind of navigates various different cultural spaces, being the daughter of immigrants and immigrant myself, as well as, kind of negotiating what it means to be on this land, live on this land, and as a Black Muslim woman. So that being said, I'm going to share a couple of pieces that speak specifically to identity, belonging, and my spirituality as a Muslim woman. And the first one is called Gardens and Galaxies. Now, Gardens and Galaxies, I want to share a little bit about this piece before I start. It really is the journey of kind of investigating and noticing, pain and kind of wanting to engage in a healing process, but also feeling really stagnant and feeling really kind of stuck in the familiarity of pain, really feeling that, that healing journey is something that you're almost like scared to approach because of the fear of what's on the other side of the pain. And so this is a deeply personal journey for me. It's one of kind of reaching outside of myself, reaching for divine wisdom and guidance in moving through pain and through some painful experiences in my life. So here it is, Gardens and Galaxies. And it really is just a conversation and a metaphor between gardens and galaxies that kind of give human-like qualities to, and they're having this debate about who's most beloved to God, who's most able to kind of inspire this human to look outside of herself and beyond herself. So here it is. You fall in love with your pain in a world full of breaking. You fall in love with your pain in a world full of breaking. Breaking, you're open to a world for the taking, where breaking feels like honesty, and honestly everything is written. You fall in love with your pain in a world full of breaking, where breaking feels like honesty and healing is alchemy, and every season a reminder that the whole world is burning and your heart is a fire escape. Now tell me, where does it take you after the flames? Conversations with God at dawn are left mapping your pain. They say there's really only one map to retain, only one crescendo at the refrain, where the high note is a high road with jagged terrain, and you can only touch down with baggage to claim, knowing this whole life is a day or part of a day measured in the heavens. You fall in love with your pain because it's familiar. Ruminate 5 times a day like it's a pillar holding up every earth you've ever known until the garden spoke. Bloomed out at the mouth, soaked in poems, dug up soil dug up soliloquies, syllables stretched out to find God from the ground to my heart, saying, look at my petals at your feet. Garden said, look at my petals at your feet. Everything in bloom, again, from the same seed, means you were never really broken. You just needed room to breathe, waiting through the seasons to exhale, notes from the underground, waiting for another round. And God created me to remind you that it'll come around. Potent hope from my petunias to my rose. That's when the galaxy spoke. Rudely interrupted quotes from Garden, like it knows where the pain really dies. It said, really, skies is where you want to look. So dust off your regular and marvel at my nebula. Then I heard a big bang. Galaxy sang from the beginning, singing, everything is written, everything is written, everything is written. So remember my light when you're feeling less than forgiven, when you lose your Milky Way and spiral out of control. Don't look down at my weeds. You'll find everything you need through your contemplation of my luminous blanket of constellation. So connect the dots when you're feeling shaken. The turbulence will pass at your destination when you land. And when you land, garden. When you land, you'll find my plants, my evergreens and fruit trees feed fruition of your plans. Garden explained, understanding why you're here could dilute your pain. Because we're connected to every piece of this plane, even your tears water the ground mixed with the rain. So photosynthesis, your sentences and answers will sprout from the pavement. Galaxy. Photosynthesis comes from light, comes from stars. So there's really no you without that part. Garden. Galaxy, I don't care how bright your stars and planets be. Plants oxygenate the air so she can breathe. Galaxy, so you keep her alive, but where does she go when she died? That's when I finally reply. Maybe it's not about who's most beloved to God. Both creations give me reason to pause. One grounded, planted, one soaring, stranded, something greater than my pain. What do they have in common? These gardens and galaxies, stratospheres, planets, and light years between them. Galaxies, gardens remind you to grow where you are planted. Galaxies remind you and show you worlds within worlds. When you feel abandoned, everything working in tandem, asking you to fall in love with something greater than your pain, even greater than your healing. And what's greater than your healing? Knowing the sky is not a ceiling, it's a limitless feeling. Stars are seeds planted in the cosmos, and plants are beings breathing out a life source, something greater than your pain, because the heart is a fire escape. So tell me, where does it take you after the flames? To the source of the light in the sky that fed the ground a garden, to the source of the garden that fed your lungs breath that turned words into steps, into journeys, to the source that created every fire escape for a world that's burning. So that poem is really just a reminder to myself, first and foremost, to really kind of just look outside of myself and to reach outside of myself in the moments where I feel like I'm kind of constricted and closing in on myself. So I hope that piece, what I hope for that piece to do in the world is to bring others that kind of comfort and reminder to do the same for themselves, and to forgive themselves, and to see beyond whatever, is happening internally and in the moment, and to kind of just, not despair in the potential for a future. Okay, so this next piece is called Capes, and Capes is about the area that I grew up in. I grew up in Scarborough, which is a neighborhood in Toronto. I love Scarborough. I'm very proud of where I grew up, but I also recognize that it's a place that I think I've had some I guess like conflicting feelings about for many reasons. For feeling that Scarborough was also kind of a forgotten part of the city, that there wasn't as many resources. It had a bad reputation. It was considered a quote unquote bad neighborhood. The quote unquote hood, whatever you want to call that. So for me, it's like this piece, Capes, is kind of about what it means to kind of live in that duality of a place that brought you so much love, community, your roots, your first friends, your family, and also recognizing that it's a place that is not, is not without its challenges, and it's kind of like social and socioeconomic challenges in particular. So this is Capes. They say not all heroes wear capes, But what you wear can have you looking for heroes like stars in the day as you guard what you say to move the target away. Capes can drown you or cover the scars that they make. Even scarves can be capes. We try to make them wings in this world, might even dress it up to hide the bitter inside, but not all that glitters is fly, and some wings don't work in a limited sky. Divine decree meets signs if we're trying to see, and we might fly. And if we can't fly, we might try to be what they can't reach, to protect what we're trying to keep. Capes, like empresses' old clothes cloaked in a future, cloning futures, so there's enough for us all. That's our superpower. Fly for hours, black to the future. Fly for hours, black to the future, over skyscrapers and cumulus clouds, overlooking dubious towns that overlook this brown skin. Same streets we would drown in, then play hopscotch with rocks until a symphony of a then call to prayer mixed with mama's call to stop called us in. Sounds drumming up memories of my youth, beating to the beauty of being us. Us of just being, hands sticky with injera, hearts busy with dreams, just being. Before becoming became us, and the hustle would chase us as pieces of a puzzle to place us somewhere that didn't fit but would shape us. Before becoming became us, as we tried to make our mark in a world that sought to erase us, even though there are no erasers for markers, and even our own marks don't make us, knowing they couldn't cross us out if we were moving faster than their paper. Before becoming became us, as some of us sank and some of us came up in a world where our world is invisible simply because we wear capes invisible, but not when capes become hoodies, not when capes look like jogging or holding a phone or shopping, not when they fashion capes out of threads of my unraveling and wear my story like theirs, because theirs is too loud with my mother's running to tell, written in too much red to not bloody their hands when held invisible. Just not when survival has always looked like having to wear a cape at all, being invisible, becoming small to move within the walls of their institution, through the maze of their glass ceilings, to find a glass ladder, sometimes just to become tall enough to fall. Some days we're invisible because it's better than being seen in a way we don't see ourselves at all. Some days we do what we can in a world where we need to save ourselves from glass ceilings and ladders, trap doors, and worse. Some days feel like I'm feeling all the seasons as once, breezing past as we leave the past where the sun left us, budding to become all the shine in us, love pouring out of every pore that you find in us. Even while the winters seem to freeze time to confine us, hold us trapped. Other days feel like summer is holding all her winters back. So we're holding on to the beauty of being here. We made it still. Hands sticky with injera, hearts busy with dreams, even surrounded by this maze, these plots, but we'll be okay because their plots are like injera, sticky with holes in it. I don't know if anyone's ever had injera. It's delicious. But it is a kind of Ethiopian flatbread. It's made from a grain called teff, which grows in Ethiopia. And it kind of has these holes, like it's fermented. So it has these like holes that almost look like the surface of the moon. So that's where that metaphor comes from, just in case you haven't had Ethiopian food before. But yeah, so that was capes. And this next piece is actually a two-part piece, and it's on my EP, Blooming at the Mouth. So Blooming at the Mouth is an EP or short album that I created, and it's kind of a mix of poetry and music. So today I'm going to be performing the poetry version of a piece, a song called Things I Didn't Say. And this is part one to a two-part poem. And yeah, I'm not even going to explain this one. I'm just going to get right into it. So this is Things We Didn't Say. You'll notice some more kind of galaxy and celestial themes in this one as well. Freedom looks exactly like me. Freedom looks exactly like me. And I know that it's right beneath my feet, and I can see it every step I walk, because freedom, freedom looks exactly like me. And I know that it's right inside me. And I can see that it's right inside you. And we need to. I rode the train 6 times today from one terminal station to another. You don't know you're one of the many questions. You don't know you're one of the many people I've seen empty and fill this train, fill and empty this train in succession. And out of all of them, you're the only one I knew for certain would ask me this question you asked. How are you? Sometimes when people ask me how I am, I want to say, I feel as though my heart may implode, or that the blood inside it may boil over my rib cage, leaving it looking like tomato soup stained stove elements, or that I may at any instant shatter into a billion pieces and litter the floor beneath your feet with myself. I want to say my mouth feels pregnant with the earth. My teeth are white picket fences of polite speech holding in shifting continents of a world spinning madly out of orbit. I want to ask you, do you know how it feels to be pregnant in the mouth with more than you even know how to say, and fear you may abort the whole world and everything in it with silence? You don't answer. Instead, you watch my mouth bloat with everything I've ever known, and I know it feels strange, but sometimes I can feel my heart. Sometimes I can feel my blood changing colors like a mood ring, and some colors it becomes makes me want to wring it out of my veins like water out of washed clothes, because I can't always bear to wear myself when I feel this heavy. I said I can't always bear to wear myself when I feel this heavy. Now imagine you understanding, as if we're speaking the same language, and you would say something like, you would say, the emptying and refilling of ourselves often leaves us fuller than before. But instead, I have to translate every feeling. I tell you, I will start a revolution and protest the drought I caused in me until I bleed myself profusely and passionately back into myself, until freedom becomes my skin wrapped tightly around the whole thing, because freedom looks exactly like me, because freedom looks exactly like. But I look up and see that blank face stare, and you're nodding your head so consistently that I wonder if perhaps you've started to drift off into a hip-hop beat to drown me out. You moving closer, but still seem to be moving towards the other end of this train. So again, I try to reach you. Again, I try to reach you. You see, before the revolution, I wanted to tell you to hold me more, because I felt I may tatter, collapse, and shatter into these fragments, masquerading as a complete person if not held together. But the look in your eyes tells me you don't know how to make glue out of your arms anyway. I wish I knew then that it's not something you needed to know how to do, but if only the question, what revolution are you talking about, wasn't hanging from your iris like a lost eyelash in unfamiliar fields of view. If only you could feel this view from where I am, then we could say this all casually, like we're talking about the weather. It wouldn't spook you, it would move you, because you of all people would know, that it's okay to let small talk fall like a deep sigh back into its common cocoon, so that it can take the time it needs in seclusion to grow wildly honest enough to take flight and journey between our mouths, seeing the world. But instead of seeing the world, I'm just on a train. And we've been stuck on this train forever, feasting on little cities, citizens lost and sitting on my tongue like an aftertaste. This is just the story of the lie I told you that day, and I'm sorry I couldn't say more. I just didn't feel safe. These words are like ghosts wandering the graveyards of things I should have said. Because when you asked me how I was, I assassinated truth, turned autopilot on to auto-commute to an acceptable answer, dug graves for the words that didn't make the cut between my lips. I swallowed the entire globe in one sentence and said, Good. How are you? So that piece is about, that emotional, I guess, honesty that we sometimes lack, and asking the question, how are you? And it's about, connecting, and that desire, that I think really just human desire to want to be seen and to want to be heard. And yeah, the strength in that kind of vulnerability, but also the feeling of wanting a safe space to land, wanting a soft place to land. So I think we have time for one more piece. And I'd like to actually share a piece called Black Gold. Black Gold is an ode to Black Muslim women. It's a song actually also on my EP, but it's also a poem that I wrote. It started off as a poem, and I wrote this poem to just celebrate Black Muslim women who are not often seen or celebrated in the media, in music, and really just wanting to kind of to do this for Black Muslim women to feel good about themselves, and to kind of, you know, feel fly and flex and all that good stuff. So here it is, Black Gold. Black Muslim girls, Black Muslim girls, Black Muslim girls, you are more than magic. You are a multitude of dope, fly, out of this world, love, making love to love, melanated masterpiece. There is nothing tragic about you. The tragedy is living in the kind of world that has you digging the earth with your teeth, duality wrapped in your tongue as you code switch deep enough to be Black and Muslim, but rarely at the same time. Your spine is a site of intergenerational trauma, and they mine your back until it cracks and exposes the black gold from your backbone that was sought. But this is not a minery. We are the kind of tired you become when you're both the product and the labor, because apparently there's a bed here on our backs that some will sleep on, yet call themselves woke. But this is not a dreamland. This is quicksand. We are women with a softness that will sink you and lift you at the same time. Prayer bead woven fingers when we are triggered. Then proceed to whisper scripture and strive higher than the brand of justice that was promised here, in the dance between the ephemeral and eternal, here in the in-between, here in the you can't hear yourself loud enough to hear your dreams sometimes, here, where a woman at the masjid once asked me where I'm from. So I told her I'm Ethiopian, and she said, MashaAllah, just like Bilal, but then mixes it with dirty looks, mixed with, that must be why you're doing it wrong, do it like this, mixed with, so what are you mixed with? Like it's a compliment, and I want to tell her I'm mixed with Black, and even blacker than that, unapologetically blacker than Black, Black Muslim girls, Black Muslim girls, Black Muslim girls. I know the world is burning with your names right now, but you are not a forest fire. You are the brilliance of many suns and the wisdom of many moons. I know the system makes you nervous sometimes, but your nervous system was designed to feed you feeling, impulse through your pulse for healing. Your winter's withering in your bloom, while your winter's withering in their bloom, while holding on to your truths. Your Blackness has always been in season. Your Blackness has always been in season. Your Blackness has always been in season. Okay, I think that's my time. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed these poems. If you want to check out more of my work, you can follow me at Timaj Garad. That's just how my name is on the screen, TimajGarad on Instagram, Twitter, etc. You can also check out my EP. And thank you so much, Daphne, for your beautiful work.
Thank you so much, Timaj. We are going to pass the mic over to Peace, and we will come back to you at the end, Timaj. Thank you very much. All right, so up next, please welcome Peace Akintade, and I will let you take over.
Hello, hi everybody. My name is Peace Akintade, and I will be sharing a few poems tonight. It's going to be catering around nature. A lot of my poems have to do with personalization of nature, flowers and trees, and how the earth is always loving us and forgiving us. So I want to start with a little bit of bird-like atmosphere, and then we're gonna go into this poem called Humming Sun, and I created it right on the fly, I was sitting on my bed and I was trying to think like, what if the sun could hug us? What would that feel like? And I created this. The sun comes to wake you up slowly while we enclose ourselves in blankets made from smiles, smile, and coast in safety forever, or until the moon screams. No one wakes you with tender chirrings anymore. You rely on nature to rock you slowly away from deep sleep. You rely on the trees to tickle you gently away from deep sleep. Why, my love, do you stretch lazily in bed, filling up the empty crevices in your bones, stay, watching the murder of crows gossip your imperfection to no one? You laugh, roughly, at the sight of them. Why, my love, do you only believe them? I whisper sweet hums to you each night by going on coffee dates and walks in the park. I whisper sweet hums to you each night with 30-second hugs and butterfly kisses. I whisper it to you each night by saying you are beautiful. You laugh, roughly, for you know murder of crows can never lie. Humans can always lie, you say. You can always lie, you say. When there is no one to wake you with tender embrace, think of nature and its unrelenting hostility. Let earth softly wake you, and maybe one day those thoughts can go by from here, from here, from here, our bed. You are beautiful, I say. You lie. Don't believe them, I say. You lie. You belong in hugs, I say. Those thoughts can harm you, I plead. You jest, he says. And as we watch the murder of crows gossip with the trees, we laugh roughly, waking up on our own for the first time in years. The song sings how proud she is. I love you, I say. I lie. Thank you. Yeah, that is Humming Sun, very much about the stillness of being in bed with your friend, with your lover, and trying to get through those days, those morning walks. The next one I'm gonna do is a pretty fun one. I did it in the POV of a bear coming out of hibernation. I was like, what would that be? And that was my only prompt, and I went for it. I am stirred by the sound of rhythm in the rocks. The beat of their belly rumbles in the trees, their soft laughter deep in my throat. I am awake to snowy blisters and leaves dripping with spring's melody. My paw stretched to fill the empty echo of my room. I scan the cave, nestled by the mountains, ragged but warm, a cave accepted by a lover, remaining still, only to feel my body begin to wake, lying flat, viewing the cosmos musical. Meditation has always been my humor to nature, feeling my fur reach their faces toward the sun. How warm is the sun, creeping into the darkened cave of slumber, scaring the shadows into submission. The sun, so frightening to most. I see the insects cower at its force, but my eyes glisten with tears at the sight of its majesty. My alarm clock, the sun, wishing for me to end hibernation. Hibernation, an ode to nature, allowing the worries of my mother to rest. I once slumbered my jaws, now I am awake to harmonies. The daisies say their prayers underneath the gaze of cottages, and I say my goodbyes to the cave of hallucination. I roar of my cries of rested eyes and empty thoughts. The rocks greet me with stumps and rumbles, warning the saloons of my descent to madness. An ode to nature, who chastened my nightmare and allowed my legs to curl, tucked underneath my heaving belly. May I forgive spring for twisting my humor, allowing the wind to pick up my winter and hide them in distant dreams. I am awake with ambition, ambition to view my meadow with gratefulness, laugh with the rabbit and sparrow, cry with my mother on her land, and sleep once again, content in my heart. My mind is full with Mother Nature's blessing. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that those two poems are kind of like, if you ever wanted to know who is peace, well, those are the two poems to go to. Yeah, the third one I want to do is I wrote this poem when I went back to Nigeria, and I haven't been there for 10 years. So it was strange going back to a land that was so integral to my childhood, and just seeing it wiped out with power lines and people in business suits. The storytellers have become accountants. The elders have become superstore clerks, and you come back there and you're sitting on the tree and you're trying to write, and you see this woman, and she's on a balcony and she's holding her child and just looking around, and that image just spurred some kind of like, whoa, I need to write this. So this is called Master Rooster. If you tell a rooster his croak can lift the sun, and the stumps of his beak saves a nation. Soon he becomes ruler of the chickens and the ants. Soon he pecks the ground with drunken power, as if his goodness is merited by destruction. If you tell the rooster his wings rotates the earth, soon he becomes God, his existence contrived by our tongue. And my people, are we the rooster or the tongue? The poet sits by the hangman tree, trying to describe the vision before her. How do you describe death and nature grieving for her angels, skin black and swollen, slumped over the worship altar, skin black and swollen, burned by privileged hands, skin black and beautiful, mistaken for suicide? The poet balances her notebook between full bellies and gasping cries. To nature, she spews curses on our mistaken freedom. She wants anger to rumble and enter the ears of guilty men. The beats of the talking drum cries for revolution, and soon the croaks of frogs mimic police officers. The crickets die under power lines. The innocents of youths are killed for free parking tickets. Their legacy remained as parking tickets, and there is blood in the washcloths, white stains on the red sand hills. And the masters are betrayed by the silence of their workers. Our voices shall no more speak blessing on a nation that believes they seceded. The country of skyscrapers will be desolate as the children of nature whisper hate to the world. Skin black and angry shall no more hide the power of the sun. The villagers shall rebuild the worship stones of the dead, dance backwards towards the talking drum, tell tales of the rooster to warn their children of the power of their name. You can see our anger, yet there is laughter in our voice, tremble in our tone. Our anger is late for forgiveness, therefore no one guesses our suffering. The beat of the talking drum cries for revolution. Must our calloused hands build thrones for other nations, be bound together by chains for others? And the laughter grows louder to silence the poet's rant. The rooster pecks the ground, mimicking the drums. Do not let the world deceive you. We were once the tongue, professing others is powerful. Now we are the rooster, scraping for encouragement, content in flapping our wings, believing we rotate the earth. And my people, are we the rooster or the tongue, the prophecy or the prophet? Do they not know cutting off our tongues will make the beak stronger? Was the power always the rooster? Stop and listen. Listen and hear their cries. Do not mistake our smiles. We were not born to make you comfortable. Yeah. So the poem kind of developed from this lady in a balcony, who I don't even mention in the poem, but this lady in the balcony holding a child, to just seeing pretty much the land wiped away to like build power lines and build more churches and build more superstores and remove the farmers market. There's not even any marketplace to go to. And I just started thinking that, wow, Africa has pretty much been the branch of all of civilization, and now we are the ones scraping for some kind of encouragement. So are we the rooster that is like always trying to scrape for encouragement, or are we the tongue that professed us as powerful? And will we ever use the power of the tongue for ourselves? So yeah, that was the kind of the thought behind it. So yeah, that's why I created that like proverb of the rooster and the tongue. Yeah. Um, and yeah, thank you. I don't know the time, but I am gonna do two more poems. This one's called Sunflower Grape, and I wrote it last year in response to Black Lives Matter. I wrote one that was incredibly political, and then I wrote another one that was more of personalization of self-love and what that means for me um, as a Black woman going through everything in the world. If I die at the age of 21, bury me in a casket full of sunflowers to remind the world my mother never got the chance to watch me grow. If I die before the age of 30, bury me underneath dead bushes. I've spent too long on earth. Let me be fertilizer. The color of my skin means something to the earth. Like the ground, I am a chameleon ready to go back home. Just like the trees, my roots shall be strong. I look forward to the sun on my skin, like a mother's touch, known and explored. The sun carasses me like it knows every tired pore. I am known as an earth goddess, but people like to call me Black Girl, 'cause Black Girl strong, Black Girl beautiful, Black Girl wanting someone to hold her by the fingers and call her enchanting, a candy mix of spiritualities and sunflowers, a fragrance of opportunities. We are adaptations creation because we create culture. Black Girl making family out of trash cans, home smell like casserole and spices and cookie dough. Black Girl finding beauty in our edges and our afro. Are you still speculating our worth? Do not try. When have we ever needed your help? Instead, call us the border between nightmare and sweet dreams. Call us a daydream. How do I know the wonders of God's first draft? Well, she is me, and I am her. She is you, and you are her. You are her ally, her friend, her lover. You walk past her every morning and admire her flow. You stare because she radiates royalty, and once she knows her worth, the ground will sing its praise. See your grace on the table for every Black girl. So when I die, bury me with a million different lilies and sunflower. For every Black girl who ever felt the pain of rejection and microaggression, let my body become fertilizer. And one day, you'll see an army of strong BIPOC women marching in flower crowns. Okay. Yay! I really love that. I really love that. When I wrote that poem, and I kind of like, it's that moment where you write something and you just like sit down back and you're like, yeah, yeah, this is it. This is it. Call it all off. This is it. Um, that was that was the moment. It just felt right, you know. And it's so important to talk about self love. Um, yeah, it's really important to talk about self love, even in the face of atrocities, in the face of um, sorrow, because who else can love yourself than you? Yeah, the last poem that I'm gonna do for you guys is another nature poem because we need to end it with more nature. This is called an ode to nature, and it was actually a part of the 21 Black Future uh, playwriting that I did. I wrote this poem like 2 years ago, and then I scrapped it. And then when I was given the opportunity, I looked back at it and I was like, this makes sense. So Madness of Rocks, if you haven't watched it yet, I'm really proud of it. It's a play entirely in poetry that talks about a warrior's perspective as Africa dies. Super fun. An ode to nature and its unrelenting hospitality. The flow of wheat has always been my lullaby, enclosed in its comfort and quiet shame. The sun keeps calling on us to forgive. I wonder what that means, what that'll look like. Is forgiveness like the drop of a penny or as silent as a pin. I wonder how nature describes us, slow or vulnerable, for in our hands are bronze earrings that we melt away. Do they gossip about us? The murder of crows telling each neighbor how we fell for their tricks. Do they make up stories or fables to warn their chicks? Are we monsters? Or are we just them, surviving? I wonder whether oceans cry foully at the sailors, whether the howls of waves are mermaids the tides their playground. Do they wish us dead or forgive our mistakes? If I ever cry wolf, will the wild daisies and lilies respond, knowing they are the alphas of nature? A rock welcomes the ants to go rest on its stomach. What more for us to fondle the kittens laying by the shade? Is forgiveness calmness? A book of examples waiting for our excuses? How important for us to be like nature, allowing the destruction yet feeding our soul. And one day we will live on, fondness in our hearts forever. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. It was a great time.
All right. Thank you so much, Peace. And also a
You're
big
doing great,
thank you to
Daphne.
Daphne. I'm going to
Loving
unmute
it.
you here. There you go. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your beautiful performances this evening. I've just been having chills the whole time back here. So amazing. Before we let you all go, I just wanted to let you all know that there will be an opportunity for our viewers to learn and share with Daphne Boyer at the upcoming virtual program, which is entitled Global Beading Circle From Berries to Beads. So this takes place on Zoom on Tuesday, July 20th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's our time here in Regina. You can learn more about the program by visiting reginalibrary.ca. And you can also join the waitlist to receive an email reminder with the Zoom link, and you can attend from anywhere with your own materials. Another thing to note is you can also stop by the Dunlop Art Gallery at Central Library to check out Daphne's exhibition, Tipemsuak, which runs until September 10th. I have here showcasing recent process-based works on paper, textile, and 360-degree animation. Tipemsuak, which also is a Michif word that means people who live by their own rules, celebrates the lives and the material cultures of three women. Daphne's great-grandmother, Eleanor, her grandmother, Clemence, and her mother, Anita. So works feature a digital beading technique that Daphne invented, which is called Berries to Bead, which you saw this evening. And the technique mirrors spectacular traditional Métis beading. So it's both a meticulous and technically demanding practice and art form. So you can check that out as well. And if you're joining us tonight from Victoria, be sure to check out Daphne's work in the group show on Beaded Ground, which is at the Legacy Gallery there in Victoria. And that runs until September 18th. And I'm going to just quickly post in the chat here for everyone the link for a little bit more information about that one. And last but not least, you can also check out upcoming work of Pieces. So she's got some programming coming up at the Fringe Festival, which is happening in Saskatoon from July 29th to August 7th as well. So you can check her out there. And as Timaj had mentioned before, she's got her website, timagegarad.com, I believe, and you can check out her work there as well. All right. The last thing I want to do, of course, is to give a big thank you to Daphne, Timaj, and Peace for your outstanding performances this evening. It was such a pleasure to be working with you all, and to all of our viewers for stopping by as well. All right. Good night, everyone.
Night. Thanks to you.